Looks like I'm way in the corner. Let's see if I can move this over a little bit. There. I should do this. Um, anyway, uh, we're going to do Genesis 27. I hope you can hear me good enough. I don't know. I don't really know how to do these very well. Um, I know I'm in my jammies and I thought I'm going to get up and do this because I have been slacking and I want to get to the New Testament starting December 1st. I won't be able to finish all of Old Testament, obviously, but I want to take a break and do December of Christmas. So I want to see if I can hit the stories about Christmas, even though we may not believe that Christmas actually took place in December. We know that was it Constantine or someone else, and we might get into that later on, decided to unite people at a time and what would be a good time. They didn't know when Christ was born, and so they decided, well, we'll just put it here with this other holiday so that everyone's, I guess, celebrating at the same time or whatever. Or also when Christians were in hiding, it was an easy way that when there was a big celebration happening with the pagans, that that everyone could celebrate together, and it wasn't like, ooh, um, pointing the finger at one belief and um, making it dangerous for them. So they put it all together so that they were able to have celebrations, celebrate what they're doing, and another group was celebrating what they were doing. But what so anyway, here we go with Genesis 27. And the summary is Rebecca guides Jacob in seeking blessings. And Jacob is blessed to have dominion and rule over peoples and nations. And Esau hates Jacob and plans to slay him. And Rebecca fears that Jacob may marry one of the daughters of Heth. Verse 1. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here I am. So Esau says, Here I am. And verse 2, he said, Behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. Verse 3, Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison. Venison is deer. So obviously they had deer running around in this land. Um, Verse 4, And make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. I think it's interesting because you think, why is it important that he that he why do you think it's important that he serves him food so that he can be blessed? And I really think of it a lot that um, when we get together as a celebration, or you know, and it's making it almost a rite of passage. So they're making it more of an event than just I'm going to bless these. So they're going to talk together and eat together, and that's typical. To eat with someone means that you love them, you care about them. I mean, you didn't typically eat with your enemies, right? But you, even celebrations or whatever, when you get together and eat, it means a little bit more than just saying we're going to get together and talk. People say, let's go have dessert, or some people will say, let's go have coffee, or they'll have drinks, or let's go have lunch, right? So and just to talk about things, you even hear business meetings where there's a meal. So it's interesting, and and you do feel happier and things like that. And maybe he was kind of hungry, and he just said, hey, I feel like I'm in the mood for this. But apparently, um, he says, make me a savory meat. So Esau, excuse me. Hi, baby. Esau knows how to cook because he knows how to make that meat savory. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. And that's Marie. And and so he knows how to cook. But you know what else is interesting, I think, is in many cultures, when someone that you love particularly, you want to fix your food. Isn't that interesting? And typically, a man will eat the food of the woman he wants to marry or the one he wants to say is special to him. And he doesn't want someone else to eat it. He doesn't want them to go, "Oh, your food is so good." But he, he wants him to say it. And he wants to make sure he gets the food so he could be the one to say it. So it's interesting because in some nations now, our cultures, they're getting away from that. Or like, no, I'm not gonna get cook for a man. He can cook for himself. And as if it comes from some oppressive thing, but it's really quite courting and flirtatious, really, and special and intimate. And so, like they used to say, a way to a man's heart is his stomach. And you would see that in older movies or in older cartoons. But you can still see it in a lot of cultures, still believe that. And even though some cultures say they don't, when a lot of times when a female or someone else what do you think a guy's doing when he takes you out to eat? Typically the traditional take a girl out to eat, or the typical girls making cookies and bring it to the guy's um, house or something. It's kind of like, what can I do for you? You know, um, it would be just like a man saying, can I screw those into the wall for you or something. But they take the things that take more strength, which a man typically has. Not that women don't have strength, but typically the woman will, as she gets older, even say, "Can you open this jar?" And it's just natural to a man to be able to open a jar. To where a woman usually has to be someone that typically a lot of times works out or something. She has to put herself in that position to have that strength, to where it just seems to naturally come to men. But anyway, we'll move on because I just went off on that, right? But it's interesting. Um, okay. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, verse 5. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison and make me savory meat, that I may eat and bless thee before the Lord before my death. In verse 8, Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. So she's really going to spice this up, because if you've ever had venison, which is deer, and you have ever had goat, they do not taste the same. They don't. So this lady is a master cook, because either um, Isaac's taste, not Isaac, is it Isaac? Yeah, taste buds have kind of dimmed or something, because venison and goat do not taste the same. So, anyway, we'll go on. Um, let's see. Such as he loveth. And she probably, she knows exactly how he does it. She probably knows how to take the taste, one taste out of the other. Anyway, and thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. In verse 11, and Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Verse 12, My father peradventure will fill me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son, and only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat such as his father loved. Now I do want to go back to verse 13, where she says, that curse be upon her. We see that also when Jesus is crucified, right? We see that they say that the curse be upon their on their children, you know. And it's interesting that um, I apparently, I don't know, but apparently you can, if your child does something, you can ask for it to fall upon you instead of them, you know, especially when um, you're the one telling them to do it. Um, but we know that really Rebecca is listening to the Lord. She doesn't say that here for some reason. She doesn't say, no, don't worry about it. I remember the Lord told me that you're the birthright child. And so I'm following through with what God wants. You know, he came out first and naturally he would be, but the Lord knew that Jacob was supposed to be the birthright child. Um, and Rebecca took, okay, 15 and, oh, sorry, I went up. So in 16, and she put, let me go back up a little bit more. I'm going to go to 15 and we go over that. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. You know, because he's the elder son, so he has this um, particular clothes of the birthright son that is the oldest son. And and in 14 he went and fetched and brought them to his mother. So she said to fetch me a goat, right? And so I feel like I have to go back more. So because I'm also doing this for my grandkids, and so I don't, when I get off on the thing I need to bring it all back. So we're going to go to verse 11. At Jacob, and Jacob said to Rebekah, oh, she's shedding, his mother, and said to Rebekah his mother, behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Verse 12, my father peradventure will fail me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, upon me be the curse. So you remember her saying that, and we went over that. And verse 14, and he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. She being a good cook, she can make goat seem like venison. And Rebekah took godly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. And in 16, she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon the hands, upon his hands, and upon his smooth neck. So the goat. I mean, think about this. She's killed the, he's killed the goat, and and she prepared it and cooked it. But he brings her the skins from the goat that he kills, and he puts it on him. I mean, how hairy could Esau have been? You know, so it seems like Isaac is really kind of elderly, to the point where he's not so aware of things. Because if you think goat's hair feels like a hairy man's arm, I don't know, because a lot of men have hairy arms, but I wouldn't confuse it with goat's hair, unless you're very old, which he was. And just like he's going to confuse venison, goat for venison meat. That's his taste buds, that's the smell. They are different. So different. So um 15, and she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So it's interesting. So she also prepared bread. He only said to do venison, prepare venison, but she adds bread to it, and maybe that's what he would have grabbed anyway and put it in there. And he came unto his father and said, my father. And he said, here am I. Who art thou, my son? Now, when I read this, I just think so much like, because like I can tell the difference between my son's voices. Even I can tell the difference between your voice and, um, but he's, so you have the hearing thing going on, the tasting thing on, the textual, the senses. There's birds up there, so I'm facing the window. So here you have, he is really, I have to watch her because she'll get on the computer. So here he is, it just tells you kind of what kind of shape Isaac is in right now, because he's touching his son, he's smelling his son, he's touching, smelling. The food is different, and he clearly looks different. He sounds different. So you have all these senses. What's our senses we have? We have touch, that one. We have hearing, that one. Taste, that one. What is it? Hearing, taste, smell, that one. Did I say sight yet? But so you have these senses, and they're changing all of them to make Jacob seem like Esau. I mean, they're working on all of them. So even if maybe one fools him, he would fall upon the other. How we as people do, as humans, go, but the other ones are backing it up. But anyway, and Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn, and I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And so he's very old, but his teeth are working just fine, aren't they? And Isaac said unto his son, how is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, because the Lord thy God brought it to me, which is probably kind of true, because Rebecca brought it to him, and that's who the Lord told her to use the birthright son. And Isaac said unto Jacob, come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. You never know. He might have known what was going on, And Jake, because he doesn't sound like him, and if he has any vision at all, he may not look like him, and he probably doesn't smell like him. I have a son that likes to wear cologne, and I have another son that doesn't really wear cologne. And so for sure, if I smelled cologne, I'd probably think it was the other one, right? And their voices are different. So anyway, 22. And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, the voice of Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So he does notice the voice, right? But they're hairy like Esau. But hairy, I wonder if she plucked some of that hair off the goat, because I'm telling you, a person is not as hairy as a goat. Go on outside. My cats they go to the restroom outside. So they eat and they want to go outside to go to the restroom, which is nice. So, and if I go somewhere, I can leave a kitty litter and they'll use the kitty litter, but they prefer to go outside. And he did ask him, art thou my son? And verse 25, and he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Mm-hmm. Now some would excuse me, gosh, all of a sudden, some would say he didn't drink wine. He's drinking grape juice. I don't know what he's drinking at his age. But if he's drinking wine, it's going to dull his senses even more, or it might change a little bit what the blessing is going to be. I don't know. But it's interesting to me that he says that my soul may bless thee. So he's saying this is coming from me, my body and my heart and my mind, right? My whole soul, my spirit, that my soul may bless thee. It's not that, you know what I mean? It's really coming out of him big. And so it's interesting because then you think, well, is he really drinking wine or is he drinking grape juice since grapes were so popular, juice? Because you probably wouldn't want to write a contract while you're drinking wine, is what I mean, and everything. And so, and and maybe it's just a little wine and it doesn't affect him. He's eating with it. But I think that's interesting. Um, that he wants to feel all this warmth and all this stuff that will help motivate this loving blessing that he's about to give. I think that's really interesting. So, and his father, in verse 26, and his father Isaac said unto him, Come near and kiss me, my son. And he came near and he kissed him, and he smelt the smell of his raiment and blessed him and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. And it was because the goat just came out of the field, right? Um, 28, therefore God give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. And cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac and his of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. So I want to go back again because I want to make a little point here. Now, when he says, Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. That's pretty strong blessing, isn't it? Now, Jacob um, is the one that had the 12 sons. So the 12 tribes of Israel. So he's going to have the 12 sons, and he's going to pick a birthright son too. So it's pretty interesting, right? So we'll see. So I'm pretty sure he's the one that has the the 12 sons, which is called Israel. So those 12 sons are the people that the country of Israel belongs to, right? So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Um, that is now called Israel. At one time it was called Palestine, and then another time it was called Israel. So anyway, here we go. Back to verse 30. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac, his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. Now, think about that timing. If he had come in 5 minutes sooner, he might see Jacob leaving the room. I mean, if he came 10 minutes sooner, he would hear the blessing. He would have stormed in there probably, right? But remember that it makes so much sense because they're telling us this is going to happen. It's not a secret. Rebecca knew that that Jacob was going to be the birthright son. And then we know Esau comes in and he sells his birthright to Jacob for a pot of porridge. And so you're going, and then, he obviously didn't take any of that seriously. I don't, because he's going to his dad, hey, dad, yeah. He didn't say to his dad, hey, by the way, me and Jacob had this bout thing. I was really hungry and I told him he could have the birthright. He didn't do that. He just goes along with it. And God heard everything. He knows that he wanted it for him. He knew probably that Esau didn't take it serious to joke about, to do what he did with the pot porridge may be an example of saying, yeah, he wasn't that serious about that. So anyway, it ends up turning out just like God said, but and so in 31 again, and he also had made savory meat and brought it unto his father. He didn't put the bread, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. So it's interesting because that bread may have been a real touch to say that, hey, Rebecca made this. Unless Jacob was always making bread with his mom too, because when did Esau ever bring bread in? You break bread, you do that for the sacrament, you do that for various things. And Rebecca brings bread in with a goat, which is interesting because goats were a sacrificial animal, right? Um, and so you have a sacrificial animal with bread, and Esau's bringing a deer in, which we don't really ever hear about that being something for someone's blessing or anything like that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. He's son. He's going to have a talk with his son, but a different son comes in, and now Esau says, so he's in verse 31 still, he says, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that my soul may bless, that thy soul may bless me. And 32, and Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, the firstborn Esau. And 33, and Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, who were who where is he that hath taken venison and brought it me, and I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. 34, and when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great exceedingly bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. Verse 35. Now it's interesting because we know he could have blessed him too. He could have given him a blessing too. Or he could have called the other son in and said, I'm going to revoke that. I'm going to give you a different blessing, and I'm going to give him a blessing. But he doesn't. So, and 35, and he said, thy brother came with subtlety and hath taken away thy blessing. And 36, and he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? Your birthright is kind of your blessing. They're 2 in a 1 deal kind of a thing, right? So he does give a blessing to him, but we remember he could have called him back and said, hey, that was not according, and just say, so what I'm going to say is that what went to him goes to you, and and vice versa. And he could have done it, but he didn't. And it's interesting. He could have even thought, who knows, he could have even thought, if the Lord really wants Jacob to be the birthright son, I'm going to go forward with our tradition as the oldest one and let God intervene if he wants something different. And you never know. So I mean, who knows? One day when everyone's in the next life or this life, but further ahead in this life, in the millennium, and you can meet these people, then you can ask them. I'm sure there'll be a lot of stories told and a lot of us listening to say, so that's what happened. Or maybe we'll get our memory back from, from the pre existence we were in while maybe we were watching all this happen before we came. And anyway, in verse 37, and Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy Lord, and his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. And 40, and I don't know, what do you figure that means? So thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of the heaven above. Well, I would guess that means the fatness of the earth usually means just good things like food and fatness of the earth. Fat may be a bad thing in some societies, but it meant plenty for a lot of societies. And the dew of the heaven from above, which is water. And so, it's a nice blessing. And by thy sword shall thou live, and shall serve thy brother. Now that's an interesting thing, because if you think about that, that means that his progenitors will probably be at war a lot with each other. Um, Serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So it says that you're going to serve your brother. And he used yoke like oxen, when they put two oxen and they have that little yoke. And what happens is they're stuck together, they're yoked together. And you can pull them where you want. You can get them to do what you want because they're yoked. And it shall come to pass that thou shalt have the dominion when, and it shall, words are everything, right? And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So that he's saying that he's not always going to be yoked like that by his brother, and always in that way. He might continue to serve him, but it's not going to be like, you know, oxen that are yoked together and being pulled by that yoke and not having any freedom. And even the way that they move their head, and even how they can't turn without the other one saying it's okay to turn. So that yoke will be gone. So even so, you can see that they can still serve him without having that heavy yoke, which is so much heavier. And so things will be better, um, for him, will happen. But he'll probably still continue to be serving. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith, and his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will slay my brother Jacob. Seriously? As if slaying his brother is going to change what blessing he gets. So you can kind of see why it really needed. I mean, Esau seems to have a bit of a temper, and a bad temper, and isn't about keeping the commandments, because he thinks it's okay to just go kill his brother, and because he's angry about what his brother did. Yet he himself sold his um, birthright for porridge, and birthright in and the blessing are kind of synonymous. They kind of come together. They belong with each other. So it's interesting that he's just not getting it, and he's just angry. And now 43, now therefore my son, obey my voice and arise, flee thou to Laban. Oh, sorry. Verse 42. And those words of Esau, her elder brother's son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called. So she has people walking around and listening at home, like little spies running around. Because it says, and these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, proposing to kill thee. Now think about this. Now he may have said it in 41. No, yeah, in 41, that he wants to slay his brother Jacob. This, he must be talking out loud, or going to other people and talking about it too, maybe his servants, because she has to overhear this from someone. And so if you figure, she has people walking around saying, oh, go check and see what Esau's talking about with his dad. So she has her own little loyal servants, right? And they say, oh, he's talking out loud to this person and that person, unless he's just talking out loud in his tent, that he's and grumbling under his breath, loud enough for other people to hear that are standing a bit of a distance away from him, unless his own servants have went and told her. So there's quite a bit of dynamics going on in there. And so she says, now therefore, my son, obey my voice and arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran. So it sounds like he was sleeping, taking a nap, because she says, arise, he's doing something, and could be the next day, and tarry with him a few days until thy brother's fury turn around. So he's not in the heat of anger. People call that a fit of anger, or emotional, when someone just reacts and they don't have time to cool down. So, and tarry with him a few days until thy brother's fury turn away, because obviously the same thing has happened. So it's not like he's all of a sudden going to say, that happened 3 days ago, I don't feel bad about it anymore. But they're worried about a crime of passion, him just being so explosive right now, and that adrenaline just, going through him. And he's waiting for his dad to die, though. So he might be thinking his dad's going to die right away, but his dad probably doesn't die right then. And then what happens, you have time to calm down and everything. Um, 45, until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done to him. Like he's going to forget. Then I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? So it's interesting what she meant by that. Um, I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? And 46. And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life, because she's saying this to her husband, because the daughters of Heth, because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life be? So, she's sending her son away, but she's also just, obviously, it sounds like um, um, Esau is hanging out with the daughters of Heth. And he said she's weary of her life because of the daughters of Heth, and they've probably been around a lot. They're probably hanging around and flirting a lot. And with with Esau, and she doesn't like it. And she obviously can't get them to stop, because it's really not appropriate. You know how she got married, right? They went somewhere and they got approval from the parents, and they check the family, and they've got approval from the parents, the whole bit, to where these daughters, they don't have that tradition. They just, okay, I want you. Okay, I want you too. Okay, great. There's no, who's the parents? Are they the same religion as us? Are they the same culture as us? Will we be spending holidays together? What do we think? Blah, blah, blah. There's none of that going on. So she's just not happy about if both her sons, she would just be out of their lives. So that could be what she means right there, is that, um, get out of here. Why should I be deprived of both of us, both of you in one day? But you can be deprived of both if your kids marry into another religion, or let's say they move, that could be like moving to another country. Yeah, you keep in touch and they might drop by twice a year, but life is made of moments, not of holidays, not of certain, like, you know, moments. So anyway, so she's saying, what good shall her life be? So you might say, well, she's expecting, um, Isaac to pass soon, and so it's just going to be her and her tribeswomen and everyone. If these people marry into some other culture where they're doing things that they don't even want to do, and Rebecca's culture, they don't even want to do it. It's not like, oh, I can't do that because I'm this. It's like, no, we don't want to do that, and we don't like that, and that kind of disgusts us, and we don't want to see it around us, and we can't bear our grandchildren doing it, and there's no covenants in that, and there's no eternal family in that, or why, if it didn't go beyond this veil, why she's just concerned with now. So no, it doesn't seem it. It seems like she's concerned about the eternities, about living with her children again with God, you know, and that not being an option for Esau, because he's not going to marry under the covenant and with the covenant people. So I think that's pretty interesting. Anyway, so goes that chapter. And that's not so uncommon from today. People might think it's harsh, but typically people do want to marry into their own religion and culture, because they like their culture, they like what they do, and they want to share those things with their family and continue to do it with someone, not be alone their whole life and do it. And so you can see that their culture is very cohesive, and it's not just flighty, and all that stuff like that. So I will do chapter. I'm kind of behind in my chapters, and I want to get a few in, so I'm going to do another one right after this. See you later. Have a great day.